Hey there, it's Tara-Nicholle Kirk, the metaphysician. I just wanted to tell you this little story that explains why I have these little ceramic birds all over my desk, all over my house. They were inspired, and I think we should be inspired as we work, as we build our empires. They were inspired by the story I read a long time ago that was written by Anne Lamott, and it was like her own life story. So she told this story about how when she was a little kid, she lived in California, she grew up in California. California has a penchant for giving small children these really big projects that they work on like all year in school. So there was this project that her brother had received as a homework assignment, like at the beginning of the year. And it was this really comprehensive, like he had to write about a report that included coverage of all these different kinds of birds. All right. And he had been given the whole school year to do this report. And it was due the next day. And he hadn't even started. He hadn't even started. So imagine you're a little kid and you're just kind of freaking out. You're like, oh my gosh, I got to do this report on all these birds. Haven't even begun. It's due tomorrow. So she says he's sitting down at the kitchen table and his dad sits down with him. And the dad's like, what's happening? What's wrong? And the kid says, I got this whole report. It's due tomorrow. I don't even know where to begin. And the dad says, you know what? Let's just take it bird by bird. Let's just take it bird by bird. So I like to tell that story as I coach people on building the empires of their soul. Well, first, as I coach people on just self-actualizing, discovering who they really are and what they really want out of life, starting to do their dreams, upgrading the dream so they can fall in love with their future. Then starting to understand their own unique sacred contracts, their unique spirits and strengths and shadows, so they can actualize their true sacred self. And then doing the action of aligning to it. So as I work with people on all of those things, it's really common for people, for grown, smart, successful, and repressed and unfulfilled people who are wondering if they're going to run out of time in their life before they ever start doing the things that they've always wanted to do. It's very common that people feel the same way that little boy felt at the table in the kitchen, having, like, you've had this assignment for so long and you haven't started, and now it feels like you're running out of time, right? And so what's really helpful is to, you can just start taking action, but usually if you just start taking action without doing the underlying actualization work, the self-discovery work, the understanding of who you really are and why you're really here and what your wiring is and how you work, right? So that you can work with it instead of trying to fix it or change it. And if you start doing that action to try to get in alignment with your callings, in alignment with your desire to fulfill your potential, without first doing some recalibration work, recalibrating of your actual goals, recalibrating of your beliefs, recalibrating of your, frankly, your nervous system, all the systems, your nervous system, your belief system, your systems. You got to do recalibration first, then you do actualization first, then you do the alignment work, the action work. When you first start doing that, well, if you don't do all of those things in that order, usually what will happen is you'll start doing some alignment work, some time management work, some productivity work, some, trying to take action work, and the inner struggle switch will flip on because you'll have great inner conflict between the actions that you're trying to take and your underlying beliefs or paradigms. Or maybe there will be great inner conflict between the actions you're trying to take and what your wise inner being really, really wants. Right? What you're really wired well to do. I did that for years as I was trying to run businesses and have, big careers or big jobs that involved a lot of doing, when my archetypally, my wiring is ruler. So my job is to actually stay out of jobs that require me to do a lot of doing, and instead stay in roles and positions where my whole job is to set the vision, write the vision, make it plain, inspire, magnetize, attract all the right components of that vision, including all the right people to help build the empire, and then build the empire without ever swinging the hammer personally myself. That's where I have the most impact in the world, in my life. When I started to learn about the archetypes and I reflected on my, past jobs, like that's why I was so effective at my fitness pal. We grew a company really rapidly, and a customer base really rapidly, in part because I grew a program internally and a marketing team internally where I was doing very, very little executing, but I was doing a lot. I poured my heart and soul into vision, resourcing, protecting my people so that they could execute on the vision, and making sure that I stayed in my zone of genius and delegating into their zones of genius. That was how we were able to get such results. That's how Soul Tour and the other work that I'm doing right now is starting to be incredibly effective, as I stay in my zone of genius and delegate into their zones of genius, right? Not expecting people to be all things or work their hearts out. So as you first come into a place of trying to do alignment with vision work in your life or in your own business or in your own career, know first that you need to have done the actualization work, the self-discovery work, the recalibration work, the daily ritual work. And also know that even then it can be really daunting. Sometimes when you recalibrate the vision, I know when I recalibrated my vision in accordance with what I had learned about myself and what I had learned about this universe and how it works and my role in it, the vision I recalibrated to was way, way, way vaster than anything I had ever thought about or dreamed or imagined before. So it was way bigger and it felt just right. There are those humans among us that have a destiny to build big, great, and big things for the benefit of us all. And if you're one of those people, you may have been taught your whole life that you got to start small and build up. You may have been taught your whole life that you got to do these incremental things, prove that you're trustworthy. I used to hear that in church all the time. If you can show God that you are trustworthy with a little, then you can grow and get a lot. Maybe that's sometimes how it works, but what I know is if you have wiring for empire building in your spirit and you are trying to build small things, the chances you will be successful building the small, you may learn a lot along the way trying to build some small things. You may mature in your own teaching or your own understanding of your own sacred genius along the way. You may heal some other things in your life along the way. That's what happened to me. But it was really clear in my business and in my life, it's always been easier for me to sell 6-figure things than to sell 5-figure or than to sell $40 things, right? So we kind of just got to a place where we were like, wait a second, maybe that's not the business we should be in of trying to sell the $40 things, even though that's what everybody else does, even though that would be accessible to a lot of people, right? We needed to start big and then, move into more and more accessible offerings. And that's just when it sort of started to click for me. That's when I started to get critical mass and critical traction for me, because I wasn't running through my spiritual and emotional runway trying to do hard things for little dollars. So if that may be you. You may come into a place where you do the recalibration work. You do some actualization work. This is paradigm work, right? You reset your vision. You set it in alignment with who you really are. You begin to do the alignment work of lining up what you care about the most with your identity, with your beliefs, with the decisions that you make, with the way you manage your time and your projects, with your systems, with your environments. And I mean, we could be talking about a business as well as we could be talking about a love life, as well as we could be talking about a physical body system, as well as we could be talking about a home, a family. All right. So you do that work, and sometimes the vision that comes through is smaller than you've thought. Like I know in my personal life for a long time, the vision needed to shift from, having whatever kind of family or relationship or whatever, it needed to shift to developing inner peace. it needed to downsize for a while into first just developing inner peace and doing all the shadow work and light work that went along with that. All right. So, and then in other areas of my life, the vision was super expanding, right? And all of this is just for a season. So anyway, once you expand the vision to where it needs to be once you right size the vision for where you and your spirit are at this season of this life, you may feel a bit like the little boy at the table. You might feel like you're behind, which you are not, because you cannot be behind. You are always in the perfect place at the perfect time. In every moment of your life, wherever you are right now, you can discover great wisdom and clarity and direction and strength and joy to be found in your right now circumstances. Rushing yourself, tracking yourself, judging that where you're at right now is somehow wrong, or that you're wrong for being right there, is the fastest way to shut off your inner pipeline of inspiration. So don't ever do that. Right now is perfect. Divine timing is real and it's in your favor. But if you should get to a moment in your life where you feel like the recalibration has started to work and you've reset the vision and you're like overwhelmed by what's coming through, I want you to do what I did when I stood on the brink of looking at the empire that wanted to be built through me. I want you to remember that you are building the empire of your soul. I want you to take up that, consider spirit having laid the gauntlet and you take it up, knowing that you'll have the right mentors, the right assistants, the right guides, the right tools will show up for you. That's why you're watching this right now. And I want you to remember that you are just going to build your empire, the empire of your soul. You're just going to build it bird by bird. You're just going to take the natural next step that lights up for you today, the next hour, the next day. And some days what will light up for you is that the right next step is to write the vision and to make it plain. Sometimes the right next step is going to be the 3-year action plan, right? Sometimes the right next step is going to be to stay out of action planning and just show up to that meeting today with a really uniquely powerful, clear intention for the relationship between the people in that meeting. Sometimes you'll show up in a day and you'll just surrender your calendar and you'll say, I give thanks that the divine genius plan for my life now comes to pass under grace and in a perfect way. I now release all resistance to any element or stage of that plan. And I give thanks for knowing that every moment of every day, including every moment of this day, is an element and stage of that plan. So I surrender my calendar. I have a plan for what I'm going to do today, and I surrender my calendar to divine right order and divine right timing, knowing that I will always end up in the perfect place in the perfect time. And, sometimes that sounds very grand, but sometimes what that looks like is this. Like I did that, there was a day last week when I felt that on my heart. So that was part of my ritual for the morning. And as I dropped off London at school, afterwards I thought, I'm going to stop and grab a cup of tea at this coffee shop it's a newly built coffee shop in an old shopping center that I'd never stopped in there. So I stopped in there. And it's lovely the way they had done it with, redwoods in this shopping center and just a really cozy little shop. So I went in and got a cup of tea. And then as I was wandering out, I realized there was a whole strip of commercial real estate that's still open right behind this coffee shop. And I called the broker and was just like, hey, I'm Tara, I own Soul Tour and here's what we do there. And I own 9 Round, the kickboxing studio at Lake Merritt. And I see you have a couple spaces here and I'm not really in the market for space, but I could kind of see some things here. Like maybe I could do another studio over here, or maybe, Soul Tour is wanting to create a world-class media recording center. So something, I don't know, can I see him? He's like, yeah, come see him. So and I went to see them today. And they were awesome. So I will continue to take the natural next step. I will continue to look for yes signals, and I will follow those yes signals, and I will follow them enthusiastically and without trying to ever analyze. Like Rumi said, do not analyze enthusiasm. I won't analyze enthusiasm. I won't ask questions. I won't try to explain it. I won't try to make it all be logical and linear and make sense. I will follow the path of inspiration because I've seen where that gets me in life. And while my brain is a really good one, and I've gotten really far in life on hard effort and hard work, the transcendent experiences of building business, the transcendent moments when I've had someone hand me a check for millions of dollars and it wasn't hard. The seasons of my life, which now I only live this way, where I get excited to get up in the morning to do the work that's before me, because I get to work with the best people on the planet, rendezvousing with them while they're in their zone of genius and I'm in my zone of genius for the benefit of all. Yeah, I'll do it for great money. I'll be there, right? All of those times didn't come about through my hard work, my hard effort, my might, my figuring it all out and making it all happen and going so hard that there's nothing of me left. Those moments came from just taking the natural feeling next step that lit up before me, step by step, day by day, week by week, quarter by quarter, month by month, year by year, letting things take the time they take. And oh yeah, bird by bird. So we give thanks to Lamont for that visual device of bird by bird. And I give thanks to you too for listening, for co-creating this sort of new season of awakening for all of us, for this collective. So if you got something good feeling to you out of this video, please like it and share it and subscribe to me on whatever channel you're on. Always feel free to go to soultour.com/sign up as well. Get on our free newsletter list and we'll invite you into some deeper experiences to work with me and to be in our energy over the coming weeks and months and years. So I love you. This is Tara-Nicholle Kirk, the metaphysician from Soul Tour. Keep your head up and your heart out.